Some vehicles blur the line between a commercial workhorse and a family car, and this Ford Transit Custom is one of them. At first glance it just looks like a van, but look more closely and you'll notice the extra windows, and those tell you there's another row of seats in the back. So you can load up with your workmates during the working week or find space for your kids come the weekend. Now, the Ford Transit Custom is available in a variety of guises, different heights, different lengths, and you have the choice of diesel, plug-in hybrid and electric power. We're testing the plug-in hybrid model in sport specification. Now, over the course of this review, we'll concentrate first and foremost on what the vehicle is like to tow with, but we'll also consider how it drives from day to day. We'll have a good thorough look inside the cabin and the load space, and we'll consider value for money and running costs before we deliver our verdict. For our towing test, we've borrowed an Eldis Osprey 860 from Raymond James Caravans in Atherstone. Even if you're used to towing with a big 4x4, the Transit is a very large vehicle. This particular size Transit is about 5.5 meters long and weighs something in the region of 2.2 tons. The towing capacity is 2.3 tons, although in effect that drops down to 2 tons if the van is fully loaded. But even so, it will comfortably tow most large caravans. When you've got the petrol engine and the electric motor working together, there's plenty of pulling power, comfortably holds 60 miles per hour on the motorway, and hill starts are no trouble at all either. Being so long and so heavy, the Ford makes a stable tug. There is some pitching, a bit of up and down movement when the vehicle is lightly loaded, but once you've got a load of passengers and some luggage in the back, it settles down nicely. In solo driving, it's capable of up to 35 miles running on electric power alone. This is a plug-in hybrid model, of course. Now, when you're towing, that is clearly going to be a much shorter distance, but even when the electric range is showing as 0 miles, the vehicle still performs well. There's still plenty of pull for towing a caravan. Without a caravan, the Ford drives well for a commercial vehicle. So the biggest thing to get used to if you usually drive a regular car is the sheer size of the Ford Transit. It really is a very, very big vehicle, longer than, say, a Range Rover or any other big 4x4. However, if you're used to driving a commercial vehicle of this size, obviously you're not going to have to adapt at all, and it really isn't as hard as it first seems. You have very good forward visibility, you've got these very big door mirrors which give a good view down the side of the car, and there's this handy feature of a rear view camera which effectively does the job of a rear view mirror. Obviously you don't normally get one in a van for obvious reasons, but this is a very useful feature indeed. In general solo driving, the big Ford is surprisingly comfortable and refined. Let's take a look inside. So you sit up nice and high in the front of the Transit. In fact, it's more of an elevated driving position than you'll find in many big 4x4s, and that gives you a good view out, and it's very, very comfortable. I found this to be a comfortable vehicle for mile after mile. There's plenty of storage dotted around the cabin. You have big door bins, there's a cup holder up here, you've got 2 more cup holders that you can cover with this lid, and there's an open tray just down there, so there's plenty of room for your odds and ends. The touchscreen is quite easy to use for the most part. It's compatible with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so those are all positives. It would be nice if you had physical buttons for the air conditioning. These are a little bit distracting to use on the move, having to prod the exact right part of the screen when you're trying to concentrate on your driving. Another little foible is that the steering wheel is slightly square, which feels a bit awkward when you're just trying to shuffle the wheel through your hands when you're parking or manoeuvring. But those are relatively minor points, I guess. In terms of the overall standard of finish, the ambience, if you like, it's a solidly put together vehicle. Yes, it's a commercial vehicle, so you can't really expect it to be as plush inside as a passenger car at a similar price point, but it's a perfectly pleasant place to spend your time. So that's the front of the vehicle. Let's go and have a look in the back. So one of the features of the vehicle is sliding doors on either side, which is really practical, really useful. It makes it nice and easy to get in and out. The powered sliding though, that is an optional extra and quite an expensive one. In terms of space, let's have a look. Okay, well, I'm 6'3" and I've got loads of room, and this front seat is set up for me, so you could travel long distances and be perfectly comfortable in the back of this vehicle. If it's the weekend rather than the working week and you're traveling with children rather than with your colleagues, then there are Isofix mounting points and the outer rear seats for fitting any compatible child seat. There are a couple of USB-C ports, so there's the facility to keep mobile phones charged up in the back, which is obviously handy, but probably even more important to you than the back of the car, if you're going to be using the Transit as it's intended, you're going to want to know what the load space is like. So let's take a look. So compared with a Transit with just a single row of seats, obviously you get a bit less space. Those second row of seats does eat into the load bay, but even so, this is a big practical space. So it's very practical, I think, as a workhorse for someone who's going to use this for their business during the working week. In terms of it being a boot for a family car, or the equivalent of, it's absolutely enormous. You've got a vast amount of space. In fact, it's almost better suited, I think, to tent camping than caravanning, because as a tent camper you would be able to squeeze in absolutely everything. You know, you would have a huge tent, sports equipment, cooking equipment, absolutely anything you could think of would fit in here. You'd really struggle to fill this up. For a caravanner, obviously you're going to need a tow ball, and Ford has a retractable tow ball that drops down at the push of a button. It costs £800 plus VAT. Now you can halve that cost if you just go for a conventional tow bar and electrics. Price-wise, this high-spec model costs £47,765, excluding VAT, at the time of our test in the spring of 2025. That's broadly competitive with similar rivals. You can bring the price down by opting for one of the diesels instead. Officially, the plug-in hybrid will achieve 166.2 mpg, although the real-world economy will depend largely on how often you recharge the battery. During our towing test, we saw 23.4 mpg while towing with a charged battery, dropping to 18.6 mpg once the vehicle showed no electric range remaining. Clearly the Transit makes most sense for someone who's going to use the vehicle as intended, as a commercial vehicle during the working week, a workhorse if you like, and as a family car come the evenings and the weekends. But I suppose there's nothing to stop you from having one as a private buyer if the huge load space really appeals. Either way, it is a very stable and practical towing vehicle. When you've watched the video, please do subscribe to the Camping and Caravanning Club's channel if you haven't already. Click on the notification button and you'll never miss any of the club's tow car, caravan, camping and motorhome content. If you've enjoyed the video, feel free to click on the thumbs up button to like it and let us know what you think in the comments.